Hi, welcome back. In this video lecture, we will see how we can authenticate into our vManage using API with Python. So let me show you the Python code which we are going to use for vManage authentication. So here it is. This is the code which we are going to use for authentication, and let me show you around the complete code. This code looks quite lengthy at this moment, but believe me, it's not very lengthy because whatever starts with hashtag here, it's actually the explanation of our commands, or we can say these are the comments or description of those commands. Okay, this is the title of our Python code, which is this script will authenticate user and obtain JSON ID. And the first command of our code is import request. So this request is basically a library, and request library in Python is commonly used to send HTTP requests to web servers and work with their responses. So if we will not use this request library, we would not be able to send the get or post request to our vManage. And after that, we have second line of our code, which is request packages URL lib3 disable warning. This line basically suppress or disable warning that might occur when making insecure connections, such as connections using SSL certificate that can't be verified. So this line actually ignores the warning which we get if we are not using correct SSL certificates. And then we have our username and password, which we are going to use for authentication or accessing our vManage. And then we have our login URL. So this is the URL on which we are going to send our authentication request. And it is actually an API call. Okay, and what sort of request we are going to send for authentication? Of course, we are going to send a post request. Okay, request post. And what all detail we are going to send inside our post request? The post request will consist of URL, which is this here. And then we are going to send data, which is the login data, which is over here, which consists of username and password. And then we have this verify equals to false. This verify equals false arguments tells request to ignore SSL certificate verification. And then we have this response code here. Whatever the response code we get after this post request is here. And if the response code is not equals to 200, because 200 means success. So whatever response code we get apart from 200, that is success code, it means that the authentication has failed. And this is what we are going to print if we get any code apart from 200. And if that happens, exit out the code immediately. And if the authentication is successful, that is no failure was detected, this line will extract the JSON ID cookie from the response received after the login attempt. It then constructs a string called token1 containing the JSON ID. So what this line will do, if the authentication is successful, it will take out the JSON ID cookie and save that value in token1 and then print that token1. So this is how this authentication Python code works. And now let's run this authentication code. To run this authentication code, we can run this authentication code on our CMD, or we can run this authentication code on PowerShell. But the condition is that you should have Python installed on your PC. And let me show you something before that. I have a folder here, which is called Python_API_files. And this is where I have saved all these Python codes. Okay, if you will check the folder number 1, which is authentication folder, this folder consists of authentication Python code and token Python code. Okay, and similarly, I have other folders as well. That is vSmart policy folder. It consists of all the Python codes which are required to configure a policy for vSmart. We will see that later. I just wanted to show you all the folders and all. So let me show you how we can run the Python codes. Okay, so to do that, I will write Windows R and I will write CMD, that is command prompt, hit enter. And I have my command prompt opened over here. I have one opened over here as well. So I will use this one because I have changed the font size here, and I will close this one. Okay, which I just opened. And now when we are here on our command prompt, we would like to see where we are at this moment. Okay, so I will write dir, that is directory. It will show me all the directories at this moment. And we have to go here in desktop. So to go in desktop directory, what I will write cd, that is change directory. And then I will select desktop, hit enter so that it can copy it. and here it is, desktop. Okay, now I am in desktop directory, dir, what all file I have here in desktop directory or desktop folder. I have all these files, and where I have to go? I have to go inside this Python API files. Okay, I will select it, hit enter so that I can copy it, cd, that is change directory, and right click, paste it here, hit enter. Okay, now let's see what all file I have here. I have all these folders here, and these folders I have shown you already somewhere. Here it is. Okay, inside desktop, inside Python API files. Okay, so logically we are here at this moment in our command prompt. Okay, and now if I want to go inside this authentication folder, I can select it, hit enter so that I can copy it, cd for change directory, and right click, that is paste it here, and we are inside authentication folder, dir to see the files. And we have two files here. The first one is authentication.py code, that is authentication.py Python file, and token.py, that is token Python file. So now let's authenticate into our vManage using authentication Python code. Okay, so to run this code, I will simply select it like I have been doing all this time, hit enter so that I can copy it and paste it here. Simply write the name of the file along with the extension, that is .py, and hit enter. Okay, and here it is. We are authenticated into our vManage. And how we know that? Because we didn't get any error, and also we got this token 1 printed, which is JSON ID token. So this is how we can authenticate into vManage using API with Python. I hope you learned something new today, and thank you very much for your time.